Hi, my name is Sal Lopez. I'm a technical marketing engineer at Cisco. Today I'd like to show you the Nexus 1010 Virtual Services appliance. In particular, I'd like to tell you about some important installation information and also show you a basic configuration that you can use to get your setup up and running. So let's take a look at the topics that are to be covered today. Now, I won't be spending too much time on the slides, but here's a list of some topics I'd like to talk about. First, I'll start off with an explanation of the CIMC and how it plays into the Nexus 1010. Next, I'll talk about the console connection and how you can actually connect it to your management network the same way you would connect an out-of-band network device. Then the last 3 points here are when we actually get into the interesting stuff and actually start some of the CLI operations. Now, the first thing you need to do to install the Nexus 1010 into your network is configure the Cisco Integrated Management Controller. This provides a way to access the Nexus 1010 via lights out out-of-band management network. You would need to plug in the port on the back of the Nexus 1010 labeled here in blue. Now this is just a regular RJ45 connection, and you would have to configure an IP address here as well. And the way to assign that IP address is by pressing F8 at this screen during boot up. After pressing F8, you would get this screen here, and then you can enter the IP address, subnet mask, gateway, and any other configuration that is required to access the Nexus 1010 via remote management. After this is entered, you can press F10 and the Nexus 1010 would reload and you would have access via the CIMC now. Now remember, the CIMC provides a method to access the Nexus 1010 hardware remotely. In order to actually configure and access the NXOS CLI, you would have to connect to the console connection as shown here. This console connection is typically connected to a terminal server for remote CLI access. There are 4 options to integrate the Nexus 1010 into your network. For this demo, we will use Type 1. In Type 1, we have all traffic, including management, control, and data, being carried over the ports 1 and 2. As you can see from the diagram, port 1 will be forwarding and port 2 will be standby. There are also other uplink types available, which are types 2, 3, and 4. You can find those under the configuration guide. So here is my specific topology for this demo. For the upstream switches, I have a pair of Nexus 5000s, and each of those 5000s has a Nexus 2000 fabric extender. Port 1 and port 2 on Nexus 1010.1 are connected to Ethernet 100/1/1 on switch 1 and Ethernet 110/1/1 on switch 2. Nexus 1010-2 is connected to Ethernet 100/1/7 on switch 1 and Ethernet 110/1/7 on switch 2. I'm also showing you here the configuration for the upstream switch. It is pretty much trunking and allowing only the specific VLANs that we need for this demo. So let's get started with the CLI. Here I've accessed the first Nexus 1010 via its console connection. I'll start off by entering a password for the admin account. I'll then confirm the password and designate this as a primary for the HA role. Now for the network uplink type, I'll select Type 1 as discussed earlier. Our control VLAN would be 250. And our domain, we use 201. The management VLAN would be 170. And now the configuration is saving, and we must wait a few seconds. So now we can start with a basic system configuration. And I'd select yes here. No to create another login. No to SNMP for now. And next, I want to enter the name of the appliance. I'll name this N1010-1. And yes to continuing the out-of-band management interface. The IP address I'll be using is 1029.170.94 with a subnet mask of /24. And yes to the gateway. I'll use 10.29.170.1 and no to advanced IP options for now. No to telnet, and I would access this via SSH. So yes, then RSA, and a 1024-bit key. No to NCP, and then here we have our configuration preview. Now it's asking if I would like to edit this configuration, and I select no, and yes, I now want to save this. So now the system is going to reboot, and we'll wait a couple minutes for it to come back up. So now our primary Nexus 1010 has come back online. I'll just log in here using our admin account. And I'll start off by doing a show version so that we can see the actual version we're running. And we are running software version 404 SP.1. Next, a show module will show us that we are indeed the first module and we're active. And show system redundancy status will show us that this is a primary Nexus 1010 and we are running in HA redundancy with this supervisor as active. And we also do not have a standby yet, but that's what we can configure next. So here's our second Nexus 1010, and I've connected to this one via its console connection as well. Now it's asking for a password for the admin account. I'll go ahead and enter that now. And also confirm the password. Now this HA role will be secondary. Again, the network uplink type will be type 1. And a control VLAN would be 250. Domain ID has to be the same as the primary, so it's 201. And the management VLAN would be 170. So now it's saving the configuration. And now the system needs to reboot to configure the correct network uplink. And also to set the HA mode to secondary. So now that our second Nexus 1010 is back up, I'll just simply log in using our admin user account. From here, we can see that this device is actually our standby chassis. Now I'd like to do further verification by accessing our management port that we configured earlier. This is the 10.29.170.94 address. I'll be accessing this IP address via SSH, so I have to accept the RSA key fingerprint. Now after logging in, I can see that we're back under the primary Nexus 1010. Let's look at our show interfaces here, and we can see that we only have one, which is at management 0, and it indeed is up. After this, I just want to see a little bit more details on the management 0. It's up, and this is our IP address. So now we can check the system redundancy by running the show system redundancy status command. From here, we can see that our primary redundancy mode is HA. This supervisor 1, is active, and other supervisor 2, is on our standby. Another good way to verify our HA setup is by running show module. Here we can see that we have two modules, the active and the HA standby. This concludes the Cisco Nexus 1010 installation and basic configuration. Thank you for joining me, and please look out for my next video where I will show you how to configure a VSM as a virtual services blade.